In this lesson, we'll begin by building the barrel of our stun gun. So if we take a look at this is our kind of what we're going to be aiming for. So it's kind of a futuristic sort of stun gun, something with a little bit more complexity than our previous two assets from our previous two levels, but something that still uses the same tools and techniques that we've been using. Maybe add a little bit onto that and create something with just slightly more complexity. There's more pieces, and then we'll have to do a little bit more work to each one of these pieces. So the way that we're going to start is to just take a look at some of the overall shapes. So this barrel is kind of one of the main shapes we can build from, and then also this rounded sort of cylindrical base. We can start to build that as well. And so let's start by building this barrel shape. Okay, so if we take a look at this, it's sort of a rectangular shape. We kind of break it down into its basic shapes. We can start to build that out. So let's do that. Let's jump into Maya, into a blank scene. And let's begin by bringing in a cube. Now we'll add a little bit of shape to this cube. Let's go to a smooth shade. We can, depending on how we want to orient this gun, we can go ahead and let's take this height down a little bit. And let's take our depth and increase it. So we want a little bit of a longer barrel here. Let's take the width and let's actually go ahead and pull this down a little bit. So we'll make it a little bit more narrow than we might think, because we have those shapes kind of coming off of the side. All right, let's add some subdivisions. So along the height, I want to add 2 subdivisions to the one, so we'll make that 3 total. Okay, so we get something like that. All right, let's go ahead and take this. We'll kind of pull it up to the top. Let's double click on both of these edges. And I'm just going to scale these up almost to the top. So something like that. Let's now select the face on the side and the face on this side. And we want to extrude these out. So we'll go to Edit Mesh, Extrude, and we can reset all that just to make sure we're both working from the same settings here. We'll go ahead and extrude this out a little bit. So we end up with something like that. If you want to kind of scale it down a little bit to get the look that you want, you can. Now on our gun, we had the edges were kind of beveled a little bit. So everything wasn't completely straight. So let's take the top and the bottom and let's kind of scale these in a little. And then let's take these edges on the sides. Okay, we want to turn that into a face, kind of bevel that off. So we'll go ahead and hit bevel, and let's reset that just so everything is the way, so we're both working from the same settings. And I'm going to take the offset down to maybe 0.3 or so. So we end up with something more like that. And again, once you get that bevel, if it's not looking like you want, I want mine to be a little bit more kind of wider, and so I can bring it down a little bit. Okay. Now for the front part, I want it to be kind of beveled down as well. So it's not just a straight line, but kind of comes down at an angle. So let's just take those faces at the front and let's go ahead and do an extrude. We'll change the offset amount to make that come in a little bit, and then add a little bit of thickness. So we get kind of a bevel there. All right, and then I want a little bit of thickness, so I'll repeat that extrude. Add a little bit more offset. Okay. And now I want to create the interior of our barrel here. So I'm going to do another extrude, and now I'm just going to pull that straight back. Okay, and then we can either delete that or we can decide what to do with that a little bit later. All right, so starting to get that main shape of our gun built up there. Now let's say that we want to smooth this because we're going to be adding some detail later, so that's going to require it to be smooth. So if we smooth this, it doesn't really look like we want it to look. So the first thing I'll do is let's go ahead and just delete the faces on the back because that's going to be penetrating right into that cylindrical base that we've got. And then let's come in and start to insert some edge loops along these different lines. So we can use our insert edge loop tool. We'll just reset that. And we can use this to kind of sharpen up these edges. So if we come in here and here, we can kind of sharpen that up, do the same thing here. And then here also. Okay, and then coming down to the bottom. Just kind of tighten this up for our smooth. If you wanted to use creasing, you could do that too. Kind of tightening that up, and then the same thing down here. Okay, over here on this side, we still need to do this one. And that one. And then just a couple more. Coming in here on the side. Just to kind of tighten this up a little bit. And then we need one right on the top here. Okay, now we'll also need a few, because you can see that kind of sharpens up those edges, but we really miss our bevel at the front, so we really need one to come in here, right along there, and one on the other side to hold that edge. And then let's add a couple right in here. And on the front. And let's add one right on the inside as well. Okay, so now when we smooth this, we get something that is a little bit closer to what we want. So it's got some nice hard edges, but still kind of a little bit softer. Okay. So once we've got this piece built the way that we want it, the next thing that we can do is to go ahead and start to block in the base, that cylindrical base here, and start to get everything blocked in that way. So let's go ahead in the next lesson and work on that piece.